Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will be talking about the Stark Law. Section 1877 of the Social Security Act, Title 42, United States Code 1395 NN, also known as the Physician Self-Referral Law and commonly referred to as the Stark Law. The Stark Law prohibits a physician from making referrals for certain designated health services or DHS payable by Medicare to an entity with which he or she or an immediate family member has a financial relationship, which can be ownership, investment, or compensation, unless an exception applies. For example, if you invest in an imaging center, the Stark Law requires the resulting financial relationship to fit within an exception, or you may not refer patients to the facility and the entity may not bill for the referred imaging services. The Stark Law prohibits the entity from presenting or causing to be presented claims to Medicare or billing another individual, entity, or third-party payer for those referred services. It also establishes a number of specific exceptions and grants the Secretary the authority to create regulatory exceptions for financial relationships that do not pose a risk of program or patient abuse. The following items or services are designated health services: clinical laboratory services, physical therapy services, occupational therapy services, outpatient speech language pathology services, radiology and certain other imaging services, radiation therapy services and supplies, durable medical equipment and supplies, parenteral and enteral nutrients equipment and supplies, prosthetics, orthotics and prosthetic devices and supplies, home health services, outpatient prescription drugs, inpatient and outpatient hospital services. Now I will talk about some of the Stark Law's exceptions. I haven't listed all of them. Let me talk about a couple of exceptions applying to compensation arrangements. Charitable donations by a physician. Bona fide charitable donations made by a physician or immediate family member to an entity if all of the following conditions are satisfied. The charitable donation is made to an organization exempt from taxation under the Internal Revenue Code or to a supporting organization. The donation is neither solicited nor offered in any manner that takes into account the volume or value of referrals or other business generated between the physician and the entity. Risk-sharing arrangements. Compensation paid directly or indirectly by an MCO or an IPA to a physician pursuant to a risk-sharing arrangement, including but not limited to withholds, bonuses, and risk pools for services provided by the physician to enrollees of a health plan. An example of the exception applying to ownership/investment arrangement is mutual funds. Ownership of shares in a regulated investment company as defined in Section 851A of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 if the company had, at the end of its most recent fiscal year or on average during the previous 3 fiscal years, total assets exceeding $75 million. Some of the exceptions applying to both compensation and ownership arrangements are preventive screening tests, immunization, and vaccines. Preventive screening tests, immunizations, and vaccines that meet the following conditions. The preventive screening tests, immunizations, and vaccines are subject to CMS mandated frequency limits. The preventive screening tests, immunizations, and vaccines must be covered by Medicare and must be listed as eligible for this exception on the list of CPT/HCPCS codes. Another example of the exception applying to both compensation and ownership arrangements is physician services. Physician services that are furnished personally by another physician who is a member of the referring physician's group practice or is a physician in the same group practice as the referring physician or under the supervision of another physician who is a member of the referring physician's group practice or is a physician in the same group practice as the referring physician, provided that the supervision complies with all other applicable Medicare payment and coverage rules for the physician's services. Hope you found this information useful. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching and be safe.